town has a ghost story that's been passed down through the generations. But what if those legends were true? My name is Miranda Young, and I'm the Ghost Biker. Hey everyone, happy Thursday, happy almost Christmas, middle of December. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I know we're getting things ready, gearing up for the holiday season for the end of the year, and just extremely excited to be here. So, want to say hello to a few people over here in the chat room. Hello, Chris, Janet. Well, looks like we've got two Chris's in here in the chat room. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have any questions for myself or tonight's guest, please feel free to put those over there in the chat room section over there. And if you don't mind, just put them in all caps so that I don't miss them as we're going through. Because sometimes, whenever we get in the middle of a conversation, I have to kind of pause a little bit and jump back to the questions, and I want to make sure that I don't miss you guys. So, hello to Joe. Hello to Larry. Larry with Expedition Entity. Just saw where you guys are working on getting your season 3 out. Congratulations on that. And hello to Donna Willis from Canada. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So, just a couple things before we get to tonight's show. We've been sending out orders of Ghost Biker merchandise. Got a big order sent out last week. I think that if you get your order in within the next day or two, we can probably still make it by Christmas time. But you can see all of the Ghost Biker merchandise stuff on the website under the shop tab there. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, all kinds of really cool stuff on there for stocking stuffers or for your paranormal or biker enthusiasts. So check that out. Also, historic Scott County Jail got a bunch of just put in an order for some more sweatshirts. Got a bunch of other shirts and merchandise in there as well. So if you're looking for that last minute special something, come in, check us out there at the historic Scott County Jail. We also have an online store there. And thank you, Dr. Sumner. There's the website, ghostbikerexplorations.com. Always appreciate that. Also got a lot of drawings and stuff on there, prints of some of my drawings that we've got on there. So we're wrapping up the last weekend before the holiday season at the historic Scott County Jail. We've got a flashlight tour tomorrow night. We still have a few tickets left for that. That's a 90-minute tour of the historic Scott County Jail. And that's from 7 to, I believe it starts at 7 tomorrow night, 7 to 8:30, I believe. Go and check the website, Dr. Sumner, if you can confirm that. I think that one's at 7. We also have on Saturday and Sunday night, we have our Ghosts of the Past at Christmas walk, haunted history walk. Those are going to be the last ones before the season ends. I believe that we may, because we have had some people reaching out, we might actually add a couple night tours right before Christmas or between the Christmas and New Year season. We're still kind of working on that. So that's something to kind of be on the lookout for. With those, you get a free flashlight. You get to see the Christmas lights there in Huntsville and also get a cup of hot chocolate. It's a 45-minute walk around town, ending with an hour tour of the historic Scott County Jail there. So get those tickets, get on there before our end of season, because these last couple tours, they will be the last ones before the Christmas lights come down and before we kind of put a little hold on the ghost walks until later on next year. So definitely want to check that out. Also, this is the last weekend for paranormal investigations here at the jail for this year. And it's sold out. Got one on tomorrow night as well as Saturday night. Our 2023 schedule is open. So if you want to investigate a location in the cold, we do have heat. So check that out. The schedule is up on www.historicscottcojail.com, and you can book your dates in advance for next year. We've had quite a few bookings coming in, so you can get on the calendar for next year. We've got heat, we've got air, so it's definitely a comfortable place to investigate, and it's clean too, so you don't have those dust orb contaminations in there on your video. Just trying to look here and see if there is anything else. Want to say thank you to all the people. If you follow our Historic Scott County Jail page, you will know Miss Sally. That's exactly what I was about to say, Dr. Sumner. We have Miss Sally, our jail cat, and she's quite the little celebrity. People, when they come in, they just bypass us and they're like, there's Sally. Everyone watches her, and she's just the best cats. If you're looking for some cuteness, go check out the page, because she's got all kinds of Christmas hats that she's been dressing up in. But we've had a lot of people that have stopped by, given her some treats and all kinds of cool stuff. She got a stocking today from Scott County Florist. And, we just want to thank everyone for your kindness, for thinking of her, including her, and, just sharing her out and everything. That's really cool. And we love to see that whenever you come in. So I'm going to go ahead, get to tonight's guest, because, we're talking about the storytelling side and the ghost walks and everything there at the historic Scott County Jail. And if you've watched my show, you know that that's something that I absolutely love talking to storytellers, and love sharing on my series, that history and that storytelling side of things. It's truly how I got into the paranormal. So, my guest tonight, she is actually the owner of Jersey Shore Ghost Walks. So I'm gonna go ahead, bring her on, because we've got some really cool and exciting things to talk about. So I'm gonna welcome Miss Genevieve Kelly.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to come on tonight. I know you've been very busy with some really cool things that have been going on.
I've been incredibly busy and incredibly lucky. Oh, hi, Chris. Yeah, we've had a lot of things going on. Aside from it being a record ghost tour season, this season for some reason has been, thankfully, just out of control. I was running 2 or 3 tours a night by myself. So that was, absolutely so grateful for all the people that have come out and joined us on tours. But in addition to that, we also opened a brick and mortar shop, and it has surpassed my wildest imagination.
I love that. So are your ghost tours, are they year round or are they seasonal?
They are seasonal for the most part. The way that I've operated is I'll do generally 1 tour per month from March through August, and then kick off right after Labor Day weekend. So we are in Keyport, New Jersey, and Red Bank, New Jersey, which is sort of Jersey Shore-ish. And we do get a lot of people coming through the area that are going down to the beaches and stuff. So I've learned over the years that starting after Labor Day is in my best interest.
Gotcha. Do you do special cut type tours earlier on in the year? Like, I know some people do stuff around, like, and of course your all's weather's a little bit colder, I guess, than ours in the wintertime, but like stuff for Valentine's Day or certain holidays like that. Do you do anything kind of special for that?
I haven't. The one thing that I did do is add a few years back an actual Christmas tour. So the Christmas tour is a little bit different, and this weekend is our final weekend of Christmas tours. What I do is I go through the whole, a lot of our regular ghost stories, but touch a bit about how the Victorians would tell ghost stories at Christmas time and how that was such a key part of their Christmas celebrations and traditions. And then also incorporate some of the Christmas traditions from around the world that maybe people aren't quite familiar with.
I love that.
It's pretty fun. It was really fun to research and really cool to be able to tell those stories and just increase people's awareness of things like the Mari Lloyd, and everyone knows Krampus now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's become like a fixture of Christmas time. But the Icelandic Yule cat. We talk about that. We talk about the Christmas spiders. There's a whole bunch of really interesting things that people celebrate that I just love talking about, and I love telling stories. So
I love that because I actually got my niece a Christmas spider last year, and
oh, cool.
I hadn't heard that till I was in the old, utopian Victorian village of Rugby, and they had
Mhm.
them on their tree, and they had the story with them, and I just thought that was so cool, and they were so beautifully done, and so I
Mhm.
love that you're sharing that.
It's great. And I think there's so many very unique things that people celebrate that um, it's just it's a shame to not share them.
Absolutely, and it's I love that you're sharing that storytelling at Christmas because a lot of people don't realize that that's something that is an old tradition.
Oh, it is. And I think it's really symbolic too. We're moving into that time of year where people didn't know if they were going to make it really through the winter time. We're kind of spoiled these days where we have heat, reliable heat, knock on wood. Um, and we have the provisions that we need to make it through the winter. But a lot of times people were getting together, and that Christmas time was celebrating the fact that, we're moving into that really frightening time of year. So I love keeping
Yeah.
that tradition alive, even though we're much safer now.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's something good to share because I think a lot of that is lost, and a lot of people don't think
Yeah.
about that unless they're actually sitting there and hearing about it, and it really puts it in a whole different perspective.
It does. It does. And when you look at Victorian traditions too, I mean, they were just the masters at mourning and and all of the things that we consider to be spooky and dark. They really were the masters of that.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and since you mentioned your shop, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your shop. I know you sent me a video. I'm gonna work on keying that up. So we'll talk about the
Cool.
shop and then we'll get in a little bit more about your ghost tours. And would you be willing to share some stories with us?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this keyed up here.
Sure. So one of the things, I mean, we've been wanting a brick and mortar space for a long time.
Mhm.
And this came about completely. It was really like the universe just aligned to bring this to fruition. The right people came together at the right time. The right space became available. We worked our butts off to get it ready. And it's so many synchronicities. I can't even begin to tell you those stories because they'll take up the whole hour. But it really does feel like this space was meant for us and meant to be what it is now.
Well, I mean, your patience, because I know you talked about this was something that you wanted to do because you weren't in a brick and mortar location,
Mhm.
and how it just goes to show that everything happens in the time it's supposed to happen, and the right thing comes along if you're patient and just wait for it.
It definitely does. And I think when the right people also come together, that's the
Yes.
important piece too, because my husband and I are partners with two phenomenal partners, Rick and John. And
Mhm.
we have very good friends who are also working with us nonstop to make this a success. And the really great thing about it, aside from the fact that my ghost tours now have a space, they have a place to call home, that it's also an experiential space. We're running workshops, we're running classes, we've got tarot readings that we're doing ourselves. We don't have a resident reader right now, but we're also doing things like special Christmas story readings on Sunday. We've got a whole bunch of really just interesting things for people to do. It's not just a space to come and shop. There's a ton of things that people that we're making available for people.
And
So
I'm gonna pull that up here on
sure.
is the best place where people can kinda keep track of what you guys are doing, is that on, your Facebook page?
Facebook and Instagram, I think we're most active on.
Okay.
We did try TikTok, but I'm not well versed on that.
I'm gonna put the link in here. I'm not sure if I've got your store in the show notes. Let me, if you wanna share that, what the best or what you are on Facebook here, I'm gonna pull that up and
Can I leave a comment on here?
yes. Let's see here. Okay, I've got it here. There we go.
It should be Facebook. Yes. There it is. There we are with the parlor. And something is making noise in the back right now. So
I actually heard that just now. I was gonna ask, is there somebody there with you?
there is not. We do have people that live upstairs, so sometimes there's that noise. And this is a very old building. The original structure was built in 1830, so there's a lot of squeaking and clicking, and the heat makes some interesting noises. But that was not one of our regular noises, and it came from the back room. And not quite sure if we have a friend visiting.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I was kinda looking through this, and it looks like you guys have live music there as well?
We had a musician last weekend. They're doing a big push for holiday shoppers. So there's this great musical collective called Musicians on a Mission, and they came in and played some acoustic music here. So it's not a regular thing that we do, but it was nice to have that for the holidays.
Nice, nice. So yeah, guys, definitely go check out the parlor. They're on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you're in that area, go on there and
Come
visit
see us.
Genevieve and check that out because it's definitely somewhere that if I'm up in that area, I definitely want to make a trip to check it out. Um,
It's an
so
experience.
so you were speaking about that and speaking about the tour and everything. Are there some different stories that you can share either from the parlor there or from your ghost walk?
So I can I can give you a few different stories, but
Okay.
just one of the things that I love about doing the tours, and I've been doing the tours for 15 years. I became the owner in 2017. One of the things that I love about doing it is that it really marries the history of the area with some of the spookier things. And I always think that, the history is so important because it gives it context. But when you
Yes,
start putting hauntings in, if you have a ghost sighting in that history story, people are going to remember it. A lot of us
absolutely.
forget some of the history, but if there's a ghost, you don't forget.
That's very true.
So,
Some of I was gonna say some of my best memories, my parents always we would stop at like presidents' homes or different historic
oh yeah,
places when we would load up in the family van and go on the summer vacation. And those are the stories that I remember about those locations were the stories when you would inevitably be standing there, they would be talking about the history, and somebody would say, is this place haunted? And the tour guides always sharing their stories, and those were the ones that I truly remembered about those historic presidents' homes.
definitely. And I operate in Keyport, New Jersey, and Red Bank, New Jersey, as I mentioned before. Keyport has a very long history. We sit right on the Raritan Bay. It was famous for a specific kind of oyster called the Chingarora oyster. This whole area was, of course, a farm at one point. It was owned by the Carney family. They've really first turned this whole area into a very thriving port, and it's called the Key Port for that reason. And we're not too far from New York City. You can actually see Manhattan if you go down to the bay. Um,
Okay.
so a lot of people would bring their livestock through, they'd bring their harvest through, and they would distribute it out through the harbor here in Keyport. So it is a very active place. It has a ton of history. We had Fred Astaire actually made his dancing debut here in Keyport when he was a little guy. So there's a lot of interesting history. There's been some movies filmed here throughout the years. TV shows have been filmed here. Absolutely spectacular Victorian architecture all throughout town. But it definitely has some tragic things that have happened. There's pirate stories. People have seen the ghost of Captain Kidd here in Keyport walking along the
Wow.
waterfront. There's an area that they claim that his treasure was hidden, and people still find gold coins there. When they do see Captain Kidd, he's very expressive, and he engages with people, and he asks them if they know who he is. He likes to tell them that he's here watching out for his treasure. So I always warn people when I tell them that story. I'm like, if you decide to pop off the tour and go treasure hunting, just know you may go home with something else.
That's right. Has anyone on your tour ever seen him?
Not on my tour, but I have several. We've had quite a few witnesses to him.
Very
We also
cool.
had a lot of prohibition history here in town. There's a ghost boat that is seen in the harbor, right in the spot where there was a shootout and the boat exploded. So there's a lot. There's a lot here.
Wow, that's fascinating because I know, like, when we set up our ghost walk there in Huntsville, being a very, very small
Mhm.
rural town, I mean, we've got a lot more history than we have hauntings there on the actual walk, so we're sharing a lot of that and trying to tie that in and trying to find out more. I'm always amazed whenever I talk to people from these towns that just have this amazing rich history of hauntings and stories because, I mean, I'm sure you probably have more than what you could even include on a walk.
We do. When we first started the ghost tour in 2006, the previous owner, she started it, Tabitha, she's wonderful. She started the tours, and I think the amount of stories that we have now, I could probably do a whole different set of tours, because it's definitely one of those towns where when people have an experience, they want to talk about it, and they're very, very vocal about their ghosts.
I'm sure. I'm sure you're always getting some new material. Dr. Sumner asks, she said, "How do you decide what stories to include?"
That's a really good question. Some stories I'm just so enamored with that I just continue. I always talk about Captain Kidd because I feel like he's such a strong presence. I like to keep his story alive. And that's one of the things that I do appreciate about doing the tours. I feel like it's my responsibility. I'm taking on this responsibility of keeping their stories and
Yes.
sharing their stories, and that sort of keeps them alive. Another story that I often share is the story of the Mattawan shark attacks, which was the inspiration for the movie Jaws. That happened
Okay.
here in town, not too far from us. So there's certain stories that are really like my anchor stories that I just really enjoy telling. But it is really hard to decide. And sometimes I can sort of tell, each tour group has their own vibe.
Yes.
I can sort of tell, like, okay, they're not going to be too into the bloody act of piracy that happened down by the water. So maybe I'll just shorten that or skip that or change that. You get
Mhm.
into a groove and you figure out, you can kind of sense what people want to hear.
Yeah, yeah. And so how long are your tours?
Our Keyport tour varies from probably about an hour and 15 minutes to sometimes about an hour and 45, depending on the size of the group. So the larger the group, the longer it takes to get around town. Um, I've had this past year, I had one group that was about 55 people, which I don't generally take tours out that large. Um, but it was sort of a last minute deal, and I kind of went with it.
That's
But the Red
huge.
Bank, it was huge. Yeah, it was huge. That was about an hour and 45 minutes. Our Red Bank tours are generally about an hour.
Okay. And do they have a lot of different stories there, or are there some kinda tie-ins between the 2?
No, the towns are about 10 miles apart.
Okay.
There's some similarities in that Red Bank was settled along a river. So a lot of these old settlements in New Jersey, and I'm sure a lot of other places too, really were focused around the water. That was a major way that people got around. So there's some stories, similar stories. There's a ghost ship in Red Bank. There's a haunted pub in Red Bank. We have a haunted pub in Keyport. So there's some parallels, but the stories really are not related.
Gotcha. And do you go into any of those haunted, places? Are you able to go into them, or is it more just walking around and to the location?
It's walking to the locations. We don't really go in. We used to years ago. Probably one of the most haunted places in Keyport is a restaurant that was formerly a church.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, the previous owner used to bring us in sometimes and show us around and show us where he saw the ghosts most recently and chat with people a little bit. But it's changed not just ownership, but it's changed themes, and it's very bright and loud now. So it's a little bit of a different vibe, but we always send people over afterwards.
I can understand that. Um, Chris says, "Are local businesses inclusive of your ghost watch?" Which, um, I think that's probably kinda similar to what I had just asked, but, um, do you find that you get a lot of locals and a lot of local business support? No?
We get a lot of business support, absolutely. The business owners in town, including us, recognize that I'm bringing a lot of people in from out of town. I
Mhm.
do keep some metrics because you have to,
Yeah.
on where people come from, and I would say probably about 90 to 95% of people that join the tours are coming from out of town.
Okay. Okay.
So it's great
Uh,
the local businesses do appreciate that, and they do understand that, and they're very supportive, because they know if they're coming to town, they're going to get pizza, they're going to have drinks, they're doing something else. They're not just coming for a ghost tour. Um, so it is a very nice collaboration, and everyone is pretty happy that we're here, I think. I hope.
I love that because that's one of the things I love looking for whenever I'm traveling and going to these cities, especially when you find places that I didn't really realize, just how much haunting history are in
Oh yeah.
certain areas. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, your St. Augustine's, your
Yeah.
Savannah's, New Orleans, those places. But when you can go somewhere and find out that side of that history, it's something I always like to include in my travels.
Oh, me too. It's the first thing I do. If I know that I'm going somewhere, even if I'm going on a business trip, it's the first thing I do is there a ghost tour? How do I get on the ghost tour?
Absolutely. So, so what is probably, did you have any type of paranormal experiences or anything growing up? I mean, what really kind of led you in this direction?
I should preface that with I'm a Halloween maniac. So Halloween is the focal point of my year. And that's always for as long as I can remember, that's always been um my favorite holiday, my favorite time of year. I've always been sort of drawn to that sort of aesthetic. Um we did have some experiences in the house I grew up in. And there was always that's right on the Passaic River in North Jersey. There was always rumors of there's Revolutionary War soldiers buried under the house. There's always like stories like that. So it's always been something that's really interested me. My uncles used to tell me ghost stories all the time. There was always a lady in white story or something like that. So I absolutely always loved it. And then I was an anthropology major in college, so I have that whole interest in history and context of where how people affect the environment and things like that. So it's just always been a really strong interest, and I had the opportunity to start telling ghost stories, and I jumped on it.
I love that. And I love, like you said, with your background in anthropology there, because it always seems like, I mean, we really affect a lot of the energy and a lot of the stuff when we go into those different
Mhm.
locations to either investigate or what we experience on a daily basis in these homes or whatever. That seems to really kind of affect that.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. And I think we talked about this. I don't remember if it was when you were on one of my podcasts or in one of our haunted happy hour meetings. But I always feel like when you're doing, I don't regularly do investigations, but when I've been a part of them, I always feel like I should be sort of doing like an anthropological study. Like I'm going into their environment. I should be studying them as though, I don't want to provoke them or interfere with what they're doing. I just want to see.
And I
Just
love
want to
that
see.
because that brings a really interesting approach to it that sometimes a lot of people
Yeah.
don't really look at, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. And I like, I just want to know. I just want to know everything about it. I want to know where we go. What are we doing? Um, why are they still here? Why am I hearing things in the back room?
They like that you're there. So
We do.
do you have any theories on that just based on your experience from all the different stories that you tell? Do you have a theory as to why people are seeing these spirits and why maybe they interact the way they do sometimes?
The best thing, I mean, I'm very science minded, and the way that I think of it is that as a living being, we are matter and energy. And when the matter is no functioning, the energy has to go somewhere. And to me, that's what a spirit is. Whether or not we stay in that same form, I don't know. It seems like some do. But that's just how I view it. I mean, it has to go somewhere. It can't just go away.
And you think they enjoy interacting with us, I guess, whenever we're sharing their stories and I guess trying to communicate with them?
I think some do. I think that there's some ghosts here in town that I know have definitely enjoyed some of the attention that they're getting.
It's interesting you say that because when we're doing after we do our walk and we come into the jail, we give K2 meters and EMF detectors to some
Mhm.
of the people when we're coming in there. And there's certain stories that we'll tell. It doesn't matter, if we tell it in a different room, when we're sharing that specific story, those EMF detectors will spike, kind of like
Oh yeah,
either that's me, that's my story. And
yeah, and I think that there's I mentioned the haunted restaurant in town. I was there years ago, and I was sitting at the bar, and the necklace I was wearing just kept getting pulled. So I
mm,
turned around thinking that there was somebody behind me, and there was nobody there. Years go by, and it's now under new ownership. I'm doing a dinner ghost tour event with the new owners. I'm down in the basement. I'm telling the history of the church, telling the history of the ghosts and all the hauntings that we saw at the previous incarnation of the restaurant. And as I'm telling that story, the necklace that I'm wearing falls off of me. So as I'm talking about my necklace being pulled, it just fell to the floor. And I just looked around and I was like, thanks for verifying my story. So sometimes I do think it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship. I'm getting the storytelling aspect from it. They're getting the extra energy and the attention. So it's it works well.
I love that. I love that. And again, thank you all so much for your questions. If you guys have any more questions for Genevieve tonight, please feel free to put those there in the comment section. So let's talk a little bit more about your location that you have there. Do you have any favorite antiques or favorite items that you have in there that you personally like, and then also any that have an interesting story behind them?
So you're going to think I'm crazy, but one of my partners, Rick, made this, and I just think he's darling.
Oh, wow, he made that?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, he was a porcelain doll, and he did some whole wax art on him.
Wow. I mean, it looks like it was just made.
Terrifying.
Yeah. I love it. But it looks absolutely terrifying.
He is. He is terrifying, and for some reason, he's very comforting to hold. Um,
He's that perfect size.
he is. He's adorable, little sweet, our sweet little demon baby. Um, so we have him. He's one of my favorites. We do have. Let's see. Oh, one of our partners brought in a haunted accordion.
Ooh.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't think I can actually show it because it's in the apothecary cabinet right now, but it is this beautiful antique accordion and it's attached. There's a woman named Bessie who used to play it, and she's apparently attached still to it. So we had a seance a couple weeks ago, and the medium was picking up on music. And as he was talking about music, we heard a noise coming from the apothecary area. Now we had a candle lit. We had a candle lit over there, and it sounded almost like when the glass pops on a candle. So I got it up to look, and the candle was fine. It took us a little while to realize that as he was hearing the music, that's where the noise came from, and it came from that exact spot where they is. So we like to think that maybe Bessie was acknowledging that we were here and saying hi.
So, have you actually had anyone investigate in
We
there?
did. We did. A
Okay.
couple days before we opened, we had a full investigation. We had some very strange things. They didn't actually capture anything, no solid evidence. But we did. I mean, I was in the back room. I keep mentioning the back room. The back room does have some heavy energy in it, and just repeatedly kept seeing smoke.
Okay.
No one else was seeing smoke, but I was seeing smoke. That does happen from time to time. There was a fire in Keyport many years ago. I don't know if that's associated with what we're seeing, but there have been a few other people that have also experienced something similar. But during the investigation, like I said, they didn't really find anything. But we do keep finding some weird swipes along our wall. So the
Okay.
place was formerly a salt cave, and there's a large room that was built to house all of the salt. So there's a lot of residual salt that we just can't really get to because it's like under the floorboards, under the creek, under the moldings and stuff, and it does come out sometimes. But the one hallway, we will see like it looks like streaks, like somebody had just like had their hand in salt and just walked down the hallway.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And we've
fascinating.
seen apparitions here. The first weekend we were here, I was bringing in a little refrigerator into the back, and I set it up in the back. I was here by myself, and I heard, and I looked around, and there was nobody else here. And I said, "Okay, I guess it sounded like they were happy that we were here."
I love that. I'm looking forward to keeping up with what's going on here and following up with you later on to see the more you're in there, if you really get to kinda know the personalities or get to actually know any of the spirits that's either connected with some of your items or connected with the location. Because to be in a location as much as you guys are, you're gonna really start to get to know these spirits and be able to kind of tell the difference in
Mhm.
who you're
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with. So, I look forward to keeping up with you and kinda seeing if you, kinda get to know some of your resident spirits.
We do definitely we're staging my Jen and I, my one of my partners is we're staging every week just to keep everything unwanted. I mean, we do
Mhm.
have a lot of things here that could potentially have something.
What is your theory about why spirits attach to some of these different items?
Ooh, that's another good question. I don't know. I think, there's like I think with Bessie, the accordion
Mhm.
player, it was such a part of her life. And it was how she really identified as she was a performer. She was a performer in the early 1900s where women performers weren't as seen the same way as they are now. So it really was her life. And I think sometimes it might be hard to let go of that, or maybe they enjoy being around it. That was what she did and what she liked to do.
I like
I
that.
should also mention, we have a table here that belonged to a fortune teller in the 1920s.
Wow.
So the medium that we brought in and the medium that we brought in did think that she's still attached to that. So every day we pull a tarot card and just see what our day is going to be like, but also pull the card to honor her spirit. Because it also happens to be that one of our partners, Rick, makes tarot decks. So that's why he had the table, because he does that. So it's nice to bring all that together, and it's nice. It's a story in and of itself. I'm
Yeah,
all into the storytelling. The table itself is a story. Everything here is a story. And
absolutely.
it just makes me so happy.
Ah,
It's
I
creepy
can
and spooky, but it makes me happy.
I can only imagine just how much activity or what that energy is like around that table.
Well,
You
you'll
know,
have to come and see.
I know, I saw just right here where, Dr. Sumner says, "I'm so visiting your place." So I think we plan a road trip up there
Yes.
and,
Yes, you do.
yes, yes, I'm gonna have to come and see it for myself. I can't take your word for it.
Maybe
I'm
do a
gonna have to
little
come.
investigation while you're here.
Yes, I would love that. So Christy also says, "Do people donate these items to your location?"
Um, so a lot of the things that we do have here have been purchased for resale. They've been refurbished, they've been added to and accentuated to make them these magnificent pieces of art. But we did have a situation where a woman came in one day and she asked if we wanted these figurines. They look like they're like clowns, like harlequins.
Mhm.
And I initially thought that she wanted to sell them. And I said, I'll check and see. And she said, no, I just want to donate them because the space is so beautiful and they would fit here. And they are. They're beautiful. They're porcelain. I should have had them sitting here, but I don't. But they're absolutely beautiful. And then I realized afterwards, like, why? Um, Are they haunted? I don't know. I don't think they are. They do have a nice energy to them, and they do fit here very beautifully. And it was very kind of her to donate them for our space. But at first, I went, "Oh, is this how the horror movie starts?"
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to kinda wonder sometimes because people are always looking to get rid of their haunted dolls and
Yeah.
getting rid of anything that's attached to it, so I can only imagine if someone comes in and
Yeah.
absolutely. So, yeah, Abby says, "Can I just leave these with you?" "Thanks."
Bye.
Your problem now.
Exactly. But I think it was she was just being very kind and generous, which we're very thankful for. But you never know. They haven't moved on their own yet, so that's cool.
That's true, that's true. Let's see here. Like I said, I'm just looking to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Yes, Ronnie, we will definitely, we'll load you up there with us and pick you up in West Virginia or excuse me, there in Virginia and head on up. So, um, let's see. So do you have anything, interesting coming up with the shop
Oh my
or
goodness,
with
yeah.
you? Like I said, I know y'all are real busy.
Yeah. This weekend is our final ghost tour of 2022. I am planning a full season of tours in 23. I haven't nailed down that schedule quite yet because we are also doing classes here and I'm taking the lead on doing classes. So one of the things that we have coming up is a postmortem of 2022, and I am so excited for this. So we are going to guide people through what they experienced through 2022, put to rest what they no longer need, bury that somewhere and figure out what we need to take into 2023 so that we can start 2023 off on a really good foot. And then we have yes, there's the postmortem. We're doing a culinary magic class called the Black Apron. And this is something that I have been planning for probably at least 2 to 3 years. So the whole concept with that is that basically when you think about it, cooking really, it at the heart of it, cooking is magic. You know, you're taking all these raw ingredients, you're combining them in the right way, you're adding energy to them, you're adding intention to them, and you're making them something completely different. So we're taking that concept, and I know it's not a new concept, but one of the things that I did was I outlined each class based on the phase of the moon that it should be performed on, and talking about, you know, whether you're going to dedicate space in your kitchen, dedicate utensils to your magical cooking, all sorts of different things, learning about which herbs signify which energy and how to combine them in a way that is intentional and that will bring about what you are asking the universe for. So I am super excited about that. I'm doing that 2 different ways, doing it in person and doing that virtually as well. So if anybody's interested in the virtual class, please reach out because we can reach anybody with the virtual class.
I may have to look at that because especially since you're doing it virtual. Again, I'm gonna put up the,
Oh, thank you.
there's the Facebook link, and,
Mhm.
if you just go to her Facebook page there, you can look at all the events, and it's got the postmortem, it's got the Black Apron event. For these events, do you have to register in advance, or is that something people
It's
can just show
helpful.
up?
It's helpful to me if people do register in advance. We do have a limit on how many people we can have in the space. Just for comfort wise, we do have a limit based on our zoning and all that fun stuff. So it really is helpful for me to make sure I also have enough supplies. So if anyone is interested, I do appreciate, at least drop me a line and say you're coming so I can prepare.
I love this because this makes me really kind of think back to my grandmother, and the stuff that, she would do preparing in the new year and stuff with cooking, like kitchen witch
Mhm.
type things.
Yeah.
It that just really takes me back. So I absolutely love that you're doing this and just what a cool concept.
Thanks. I'm pretty excited for it. I can't tell if I'm more excited to be teaching it than any of it. I mean, it's just there's so many great things that are happening that I'm just, if you can't tell, I'm just ecstatic.
I love it, and guys, please go and check out her page and stuff. Definitely show some support to Genevieve because, it's awesome to see people so excited. You can see your excitement, your passion, your energy just glows with this
Oh,
when you're
thanks.
talking about it, and I know when we first hopped on and was chatting before the start of the show, it was just such a light and giddy energy. I love that.
I get like a little kid, like it's like Christmas every day here. One of the other really cool things is that our partners will sometimes just randomly bring new things in. So you come in and it's like there was a Victorian morning dress, like a real morning dress here. And we unboxed it together and I teared up. It was just so powerful and so beautiful and so mind-boggling to think that there was a person who wore this with that intention. And it's just, it's just the coolest thing we've ever done, I think.
Well, I wish you so much luck and success with this.
Oh, thank you.
I know you're gonna do great, and I just hope that, when we follow up, here in the future that you've got more events and more great stuff to share about the cool and exciting things that you guys are doing.
It really is. It really is cool. Like it's, as Abby just posted, like the day we came in and saw the coffin. There's a coffin in our green room. I mean, it's a Victorian coffin from Italy, and I know it seems strange to be that delighted at a coffin being on the floor, but it's gorgeous. It's stunning.
Hey, our audience here, that's that's their jam, you know, so so I think they understand. You know, I love going in, those places. I remember seeing, my first wicker coffin and, you know, just thinking about the story and stuff behind that because that particular one that I saw, it was I mean, it was one of those where it was used multiple times,
Mhm.
you know, so and then just hearing that story, seeing the old hearse wagons, the
Mhm.
horse-drawn wagons and stuff, um, you know, it's fascinating to see just how things have evolved and
Yeah.
how they used to do things. I mean, there was
Yep.
such a I mean, the Victorian hair art or
Well, we have
the,
some.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish I wish it was, like, right here that I could grab it, but yeah, there's I
People just have to come and see it for themselves.
yes, yes. Come and see it because it's spectacular. I mean, it's such a, it's just such a distinct thing that the Victorians did. It's so, yeah, there probably is. I'm sure there's pictures of it. There's also a hair wreath that,
Oh,
is here, so it's it's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. I mean, you think about, the high mortality rates that these people were faced with and, um, all yes, death photography. I mean, that was a
yes.
common thing. Um, it's just each little piece is somebody's story, and
Mhm.
I mean, these pictures behind me, I don't know who these people are,
Do
but they
you
someone.
do you try to research and find information? And if you were to find information, do you, like, kinda put that story out there, like, with the accordion and that sort of thing so that people walking through are able to see that?
It's, we do have the accordion does have a story. We do have a story associated with the table. I wrote up a little blurb about that. Um, when people come in, I certainly share all of the stories with them. There is a historian in our town who does buy some of these old photographs, and he
Okay.
researches and finds the families and tries to reunite the photographs with the families, which I think is such an amazing thing. It's so noble and so, just kind to do that.
Yes. And
So
what a
that's
challenge,
yeah,
too.
yeah,
I
yep.
mean, that's a deep dive right there to find that,
Oh, yeah.
and then I can only imagine the family's reactions whenever, you know, they're able to get in touch with them and, you know,
Yeah, it's
wow,
interesting.
wow.
But we haven't done too much. I mean, we just opened in September, so we're still in some ways, we're still trying to find our, footing a little bit.
Mhm.
We signed the lease in August 2nd. We were open by September 17th. So, um, there was a large festival in town and we had to make sure that we were open for that big festival. Um, so there are some days where I feel like I'm kind of trying to play catch up and trying to get a little bit ahead. And I anticipate one day it will not feel that way. But it's yeah, maybe we will be able to do some of that at some point. That would be fantastic to do that research and have more of those stories would be great.
Do you include any of that, like a tour of your location, sharing any of those stories on your ghost walk before you get started or after you come back?
I did on a few tours. Some of it gets a little weird. Like I, on the one hand, want to talk about the experiences that we've had here because we've had quite a
Mhm,
few. I mean, I think I mentioned to you earlier, I saw a
mhm.
full apparition walk out of our back room, acknowledged us all standing in the front, and then walked to the center of the shop. Um, as much as I really want to share some of that with some groups, there's also a part of me that's like, that's mine.
Yeah.
That was my experience. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of
I can
both.
understand that. I can understand that for sure. I mean, it's kind of a similar way working there in the jail and stuff, and
Yeah.
including those stories on that, because some of the experiences that Christy and I experience on a daily basis, some of it we include in the tour, and others it's just kind of, you know, it's so personal.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you just curious, do you feel like they're happy that you're there?
I think so. I think so. Based on the activity, I mean, being in a jail, you get a wide variety of activity, and you've got your typical jail, because there were some not so good people there, but for the most part, especially in certain areas, on the third floor, and sharing the story of the sheriff who was killed at the front door and that
Mhm.
sort of thing, we feel a lot that we're giving them the opportunity to really share their story and to really
Mhm.
opening them to people coming in who are communicating with them. It's really just got a different vibe, more of a um, "Hey, let me show you what I can do. Let me share my story with you."
Mhm.
You get more of that because there is more to it than just someone who was, serving time there in the jail. They're more than their act of what they committed, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, I do really feel a lot that they are happy we're there. They're happy that, we've made the building accessible and that we are, uh, giving them a voice or giving them an opportunity to, show people. We may be a little rural country southern jail, but the activity and stuff stacks up. I would stack it up against any of the large, very well known locations just because of the quality of the activity that comes out of there. And I think that comes from that, because we did spend a lot of time in the very beginning when we opened, the first 2 months, we spent a lot of time really sitting in there, letting them know what we're doing,
Yeah.
and really just sharing because it had been so long since anyone had been in there.
I
So
can relate to that. I mean, we don't have that level of activity or that level of um, even that trauma that people may have experienced
mhm.
that I know of here in this space. But we did spend, I mean, in preparing the space and um, getting everything ready, there was so much time, like literally just sitting with the energy here and trying
Yeah.
to sift through it. And you become part of that story too. And it's you can definitely feel it. People come in here and they um, immediately say, "Oh, I want to live here."
Wow. What
Yeah,
a great compliment.
yeah, I want to live here too. I mean, I kind of do, but
I'm sure you're there a lot.
a lot, a lot. But it's
Yeah.
it's great. I mean, if I could just bring my dogs and my cats, that would be great.
Well, I know our cat there she lives at the jail, and
Yeah.
so she absolutely, I mean, we were both concerned because 'cause I've got my cats at my house,
Mhm.
and Chris had just, moved up there into her house at the time, not long before Sally came on, and so it's kind of like the intent was, "Okay, so she's gonna be a quote unquote shop cat," but, we kinda worried how would she respond to the spirits who are there, and because between both she and I, we're there 16 hours a day and,
Mhm.
in and out sometimes at the same time, sometimes not, and so we didn't know how she would react, but as a whole, I mean, it's like it's funny because we'll go up on maybe the 3rd level when we're given a tour, and we do on the flashlight tour a mini
Mhm.
communication session, and so if it's quiet, there have been times that she's come into the room, and after she comes into the room, the EMF detectors start going off. It's almost like they're like, "Sally," so and she'll lay there like she's being petted, you'll hear her purr
It really is.
and yeah, yeah. So they seem to get along fine, but we were concerned about that in the beginning because we didn't want anything to mess with her. We didn't want her to feel
Or
uncomfortable. Wanted everything to kind of have its own space and be able to coexist. And so she seems to really thrive there.
and she's so photogenic.
She's learned that over time. It's so funny. So she came in April and, if, because we take so many pictures of her, whenever we're taking group pictures or when people come in for the daytime tours and they stand in front of the booking, chart there and take their picture, if I'm saying, "Hey, do you want me to take your photo?" Sally knows because I can say, "Sally, photo," and she just sits up, poses, and so when I'm taking the other people's photos, if I don't position her and say, "Hey, get there in front," she'll sit there and she'll start taking her paw and patting at you like, "Hey, I'm here," or "Why aren't you taking my picture?" TikTok. I got other things to do.
She's got plans. She's got
Yeah,
places to be.
exactly. Don't waste her time.
Exactly. She's adorable.
And, yeah, she's the best cat. I mean, she came along for a reason, and, we're beyond thrilled to have her there. I mean, when people walk through the door and they just walk past you and they're like, "Sally," she's where she's supposed to be.
Yep. Sounds like it.
Yeah. So, but thank you again. I know we're here at the top of the hour and I know you're busy and I appreciate you taking the time to come on, share what you've been doing, give us a brief tour of the location and just really sharing some of those stories with us. It's always fun to hear different stories from different regions.
Well, thank you. This was so great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd been wanting to do this for a while and so yeah, I'm glad you had the opportunity. And again, the timing was right with you opening the new
Yes.
location.
And it's a bit quiet
So
here too. So you don't have to worry about a beagle howling in the background. I say that
so
as I hear another noise in the back room. So
see, I'm hearing it over the thing. I thought it was like you shifting, but you could hear the like a almost like a movement or a knocking type sound.
yeah. Yeah, we hear shuffling too sometimes.
And as Chris says, proud of you, Genevieve, and
Oh,
excited to see
thank
what you're
you.
doing. So, I definitely
Road
echo
trip.
those sentiments. Yes, yes, absolutely. And thank you, Ronnie. Thank you guys over in the chat room so much for your questions, your comments. Thank you, Abby. Abby has put some links in there to the Instagram page if you want to see some of the items that Genevieve mentioned earlier. Go on, check that out. Is it under the parlor there on Instagram?
It should be the parlor keyport.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add that to the show notes there because I don't think I had your Instagram there in the notes. So I will add that. And guys, go check that out. Like, subscribe, follow, check out, go in, see it for yourself.
Come
Um,
see
you
us.
know, yes,
We can't wait to
yes.
scare
Yes. All right, and again, just go ahead and plug any last minute things that I may have, left off there, and we'll,
Oh my goodness. We have the horror sideshow this weekend, the horror flea market sideshow something in Edison this weekend. That's our new that's our event this weekend. And we've got the Father Evil stories that we have a night market coming up Wednesday the 21st. Not quite sure what we're going to do for that. And again, here I'm hearing somebody walk back there now. So I think they've had it with me.
they're probably like, "What is she still doing sitting here talking?" What are
Yeah,
your
like
all's
it's past your
hours?
bedtime.
Exactly.
Uh,
What are your all's general hours?
we're usually open 2 to 8 during the week, and then the weekends we're open Fridays till 9, Saturdays till 10, and Sundays only till 5. And then Mondays we're closed because I do workshops on Mondays.
Okay, perfect. And you've got all of that listed on your site
Oh
there,
yeah.
your hours?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect.
Yep.
Well, thank you again, Genevieve. Thank you
Thank
all so
you. This
much
was so
in the
much
chat
fun.
room. Absolutely, absolutely. We will definitely do it again. And guys, go check out the Historic Scott County Jail Facebook page. Also historicscottcojel.com if you want to get in on any of our last minute flashlight tours, ghost walks. And if you have a family in town, they're in Huntsville, Oneida, in the surrounding county areas there, and you're looking for something to do around Christmas time, either the week before Christmas, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and you're interested, if you've got a group of, say, 5 or more, and you would like for us to do a custom tour for you, we can do that. We can do something a little different and a little unique for your time that you're spending there with your family. If you want to kind of get out and experience some history, experience some traditional ghost storytelling, and then also take in the lights there in Huntsville. So just reach out to us on the website there and we can customize that for you. So anyways, I will be seeing everyone next week. I'm going to pull up just to make sure I get this right on my calendar. Let's see, this coming Thursday or next Thursday night, I'm going to have Miss Esmeralda James on, and it'll be 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then we're going to round out December here on with Elvis. He has the podcast Life of Elvis. He's going to be coming to us live from Sweden. And I was actually just on his podcast. I think it actually just released, or it's going to release tomorrow, Friday evening. So we'll be posting the link to that and posting any other stuff that comes up. Brandon Cooper, he's in the chat room here. I'm going to be on his podcast this coming Sunday night, Shaman Sundays. And so we'll actually be posting the link to that, so where you can watch that show as well this coming Sunday night. So again, until next week, I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we'll be talking to you very soon.